Hi, and welcome to Thor's Day Comics. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Star and the Solar Legion. I'm also hard at work on WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic which recently had a successful Kickstarter campaign. So it's The Mighty Thor, number 134, The People Breeders, guest starring Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch in possibly the briefest, most unnecessary guest appearance you've ever seen. Beautiful cover. Again, those sort of gray washes that add a little depth. Maybe if there was a little highlight of something on this little window into an area where the High Evolutionary is performing genetic experiments on this creature here. Jack Kirby does a quick pivot. An issue ago, Thor's going head-to-head with Ego the Living Planet. Now we introduce, a completely new character, very awesome. We're just in full Kirby mode where he is creating a universe as easily as you or I take a breath. So we're picking up where we left off in the previous story with Thor carrying the injured robot, the recorder, away from the tantruming Ego the Living Planet. A Stan Lee, Jack Kirby fantastic classic, inked by Vince Colletta, lettered by Sam Rosen. We have spoken. We get a look at a spaceship design that 2 issues ago we saw a sort of detonated version of it. So now we get to see what that spaceship looks like when it's not exploding. He meets up with the Rigelian colonizers. They're excited about his success in dealing with the threat of Ego the Living Planet. But there's something else coming that's giving off, crazy readings on their spectra scanner. So they got to get out of there. Very interesting looking spaceship. And it turns out it's Galactus. As all Marveldom knows, Galactus first appeared in Fantastic Four number 48, 49, and 50, and it is not unlikely that we shall meet him again at some future time when we and mankind least expect it. Stentorian Stan. This is the first appearance of Galactus since that storyline in the Fantastic Four. He's a very new character, very fresh, like a complete departure, a complete innovation, and emblematic of an exciting new phase that, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee are going through with their Marvel work. And it's setting up, he's about to enter the Black Galaxy, so it's setting up a possible conflict between Galactus, the Planet Eater, and Ego, the Living Planet, kind of a perfect pairing. And this storyline won't really pay off for several issues. It's gonna be a few years before we get back to this thought. And Tana Nile is frustrated that, nobody's responding to her requests for space lock. The colonizers show up and they tell her that, she's no longer got a claim on Earth, that Thor won Earth back. The police want to follow them. By my authority as an Avenger, I say stand back. She shall be properly dealt with upon her own planet, under the laws of Riel. And this is one of those things where there's a ton of storytelling going on in the dialogue, where she's getting ushered onto this ship and flown away, and we get a whole romantic story. Since Riel is safe forever from the Black Galaxy, you are to receive the highest reward for having a part in our good fortune. You had yearned to rule a planet, but now you shall rule a galaxy. The High Commissioner has chosen you for his wife. The High Commissioner, whom I have loved from afar for years, then on to Riel, where waits my heart's desire. So a whole romantic subplot there. I would assume that that's Stan's contribution. It seems to follow a sort of arc that Stan was fond of. In Jack's liner notes, he makes reference to her receiving a reward when she gets to the planet, and that the reward is that she will become the new High Commissioner. So somewhere along the way, Jack's idea of Tana Nile becoming the new High Commissioner gets replaced, again, possibly by Stan, with Tana Nile loving the High Commissioner from afar. This is the first we've heard of that, and now is going to marry the High Commissioner. What Thor is sort of clutching here is that one of the Rigelians gave him this tracker where you can track the life energy of Jane Foster to find her. And now we cut back to Jane Foster. She's in this car now with Tagar and Porga. Count Tagar, you have been away too long. The surrounding hills are filled with armed bandits. So they've been warned, and now we see those armed bandits, looking suitably villainous. Tagar gets out of the car and just, starts, knocking them down like 10 pins, Kirby style. We get a nice action scene, and then this guy gets pinned by this strange device, and here's a armored figure in some sort of flying vehicle swooping down. I can't move. A metal lance is pinioning me against the cliff. Run, they're attacking from the sky. They'll kill us all. Run, our weapons don't stop them. And now cut back to Thor, and he sees the aftermath of that battle with Tagar and also with this armored figure. Hold, fleeing mortals, 'tis the thunder god who speaks. Run, it must be another of those things from above. Run, after the drubbing we took, I couldn't run for anything. I do not fathom your words. What things from above have attacked you? They called themselves something like Knights of Wundagore. I saw one of them when its helmet shook loose. It isn't possible. So Thor's got a mystery. He's going to continue on. And he flies, through this narrow pass through the mountains, gets looped by a lasso, and then by more lassos. And here they are, the Knights of Wundagore, astride their atomic steeds. This is just amazing stuff. We are in comic book heaven. This is just, sublime, wonderful stuff. And, for a while, this is what Thor is. It's like, every issue, there's some, crazy, amazing thing you've never seen before. Each one of these guys gets a unique set of armor. These flying steeds are pretty cool. There's it's referencing an image from like an old pulp magazine or like a Scientific American or something, but still with, a Kirby flourish. And now Thor's being flown towards the kingdom of Wundagore, again, looking amazing. I'd like to see what the pencils look like, because I do get the feeling there's some, Vince Colletta shorthand in the inking, but still an amazing looking thing. And he's being carried, and Thor decides like he wants to go where they're taking him. So he's just going to go along with it rather than fight them, since he's sort of going where he wants to go anyway, going where that beeper is leading him. And there's all these shafts of light coming from a section where the High Evolutionary is doing his experiments. And just like with Galactus, they mention the High Evolutionary, they mention him before he shows up in the story. And it's, this sort of, wondrous high-tech land of high-tech armored knights. And now Thor, now that he's where he wants to be, swings into action. The fighting wraps up pretty quickly. I shall remove your bonds. You are worthy of a far more dignified entrance to the land of Wundagore. And then this knight takes off his helmet, and Thor is startled by what he sees. But again, we're gonna delay that reveal and cut away to another scene of Wanda and Pietro, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, just at the foothills of the mountains that Wundagore is in. They're having a race. Wanda in her state-of-the-art sports car, and Quicksilver with his super speed. And for a moment, they contemplate the excitement of what's going on, the flashing lights above there in Wundagore. Remember the legends, Wanda? We were told that such a light flashed above the mountains on the night we were born. Yes, Pietro, yes. It was said that its brilliance seemed to light up the entire sky. So a possible, teasing, a possible, revelation about the origin of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, that maybe they're not the sort of run-of-the-mill mutants that you'd get in the X-Men. Maybe they, somehow came from Wundagore, and the genetic experiments which we're about to see play out here in this, again, beautiful, enigmatic panel. And then over here, just another stunner. We get to see the High Evolutionary at work. He has this wolf, splayed against this transparent machinery, just sort of in Kirby land. And then we get a step-by-step transformation as the High Evolutionary's genetic experimentation that he's doing to accelerate the evolution of this wolf turning it into a more humanoid form. The Jack Kirby Thor Artist Edition has these pages in it, so you can sort of compare and see a little bit of Jack's pencils and see where, maybe there was a little more of a remnant of the tail here as we go through this transformation, making like a smoother animation, but I can sort of see why the tail was sort of clipped. And the High Evolutionary gets interrupted seeing the commotion with Thor out there, which was just, a few moments ago. Love this kind of stuff. And wow, I mean, just, the artwork in this issue has just been jaw-dropping, like really nice renderings. And of course, this is where we get the reveal, so that the knight removed his helmet, and now we're seeing what's under all the helmets. The Knights of Wundagore, underneath their helmets, they're actually mutated animals, evolved animals, so humanoid versions of a lion, of a bear, of a ferret, I guess, and something else here. Thor's asking about Jane Foster. High Evolutionary, just, one of Jack's all-time great character designs. And so High Evolutionary shows him where he can find her, and there she is teaching the sort of next generation of High Evolutionary's new men, this new kind of creature he's creating. And it's interesting, new men, new gods, and it's around this time that Jack's cooking up, his whole new gods concept. So you can see that's like where his mindset was. And again, he's, riffing on, some of his sci-fi favorites. This is, like an Island of Dr. Moreau kind of setup. But again, Kirby, he takes these sort of sci-fi staples and then amps them up. So gives the Island of Dr. Moreau this high voltage makeover. And now they are reunited. They can now continue with their life. But fate gets in the way. There's a commotion from the High Evolutionary's laboratory. I left my evolutionary ray unattended for too long. Now the very deadliness of my own rays prevents me from returning to my subject. It is the fault of the one called Thor. It is because of his accursed intrusion. And so because he left the evolutionary ray running unattended, this wolf has evolved far beyond the point that any of his creatures have evolved. He's evolved into some sort of ultimate end game of an evolving species. His evolution will be speeded up further than I would ever dare to go. No one can say what the dread result will be. Can you not halt this machine? No, it is too late. Should my bestial subject survive, he will be far more than a new man, far more than a wolf whose evolutionary process was speeded up. In point of fact, he will be the ultimate end of evolution, a combination of the supreme man coupled with the supreme beast. His power will be too awesome to imagine, and if he should be evil, minutes later, within the still smoldering laboratory, the mists begin to clear and a low, guttural, more than human voice intones, "I live, I feel, and more I hate." Automatically, without conscious thought, the brooding man-beast allows his mind to probe right through the concrete wall. I sense life nearby. So he's a super wolf, and whatever lives must be my enemy, must be destroyed. Follow me, I shall lead you from this place while there is time. But then the fleeing duo realize their time has finally run out. We're being watched, I can feel it. It is too late for flight. The danger is upon us. Next, a future man-beast. And you're going to see in the next issue just how much, this guy is built up as a, unstoppable villain. One of those impossible situations that Kirby puts his superheroes in. Superheroes demand super challenges. And now Tales of Asgard, When Speaks the Dragon, a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby pictorial presentation, delineated by Vincent Coletta, lettered by Artie Simic. And now they're journeying. At the farthest reaches of Asgard lies the forbidden domain known as Nastrand, a land where nothing lives, not a tree, not a single blade of grass, not the humblest insect. It is here to Nastrand that mighty Thor and his companions ride. And so just beautiful, just desolate, destroyed, desert with the kind of, an extreme version of the beautiful, severe rock formations you'd find in such a place. Another great panel, and we got the Warriors 3, who've, really become the co-stars of Tales of Asgard, and pretty soon they're going to graduate to being the co-stars of the main book as well. They're just a really great addition, a completely original edition, not anything that was in the original Norse myths. Something unique to the Marvel Thor. And just this panel here with those, severe, beautiful crags, and then this sort of cracked glass riverbed, and they're gathered around the campfire, and it's, pretty spooky. And of course, Volstagg is the one having a hard time falling asleep. And now he gets approached by this old hermit who leads him away from camp to this cave where there's a radioactive pool. And again, I'd like to see the pencils here and see Jack's margin notes, because the dialogue here says that this hermit that lured him there was just sort of a phantom, an apparition created by, the great powers of this dragon of Fafnir, and sent to sort of lure, people like Volstagg to their death. A radiant pool where deadly rays of shimmering energy feed upon themselves eternally. Stand ye back, aged one, 'tis death to venture closer. The last king of Nastron likewise feared yon rays, even as thou, gelatinous one. But he was to learn that they were not deadly. Instead, long years of exposure changed the form of the ancient ruler and bestowed upon him a matchless power, the power to project the image of an aged man. 'Tis a trap, trusting Volstagg hath been shamefully betrayed. Okay, the power to project the image of an aged man. So I was interpreting that as like a projection, like a holographic projection, that he was, using mystic powers to, create this apparition, this phantom of an aged man. But maybe the power to project the image of an aged man means that, the dragon can, transform into the image of an aged man. He can make himself look like an aged man. This guy is Fafnir disguised as an old man, and now, maybe just, through pure will, he's turning back into the dragon, or maybe the exposure to the, radioactive pool is the trigger for this transformation into his dragon form. Yes, the radiant pool brought a great change to the ancient king's body. It transformed him into a creature powerful enough to survive in this deadly land. What madness is this? A monstrous hand, larger by far than all of Volstagg. Behold, Fafnir, thou sniveling, quaking jellyfish of a warrior. I am he that was the ancient king. I am he whom Odin, accursed be his name, stripped of his power, his subjects, his realm. For untold ages have I waited here, gathering new strength, new power with each passing day, and always waiting, hoping for a visitation from the sons of Asgard. But my fortune is greater than I ever dared to hope. For Thor himself, son of Odin, now strides my land, and I possess a perfect hostage with which to entrap him. Next, Fafnir strikes. And again, we got the great design of the High Evolutionary, the great designs of his Knights of Wundagore and his New Men, and now we get this amazing dragon design, this amazing design of Fafnir, which, again, will stand the test of time, is a character used to this day, and just, this beautiful design. Again, if there isn't an action figure of Fafnir, what a shame. I've talked about how, in previous episodes, how the Christopher Reeve Superman movies seem to have a lot more in common with Thor comics than they do with actual Superman comics. And again, this is like another element of it. It seems like a sort of never-ending source of storylines and villains that you have these enemies that Thor encounters who have grudges against Odin, things that Odin's done in the ancient past, and they're going to take those grudges out on his son Thor, the same way that the Phantom Zone villains in the Superman movies, vow revenge on and exact their revenge on the son of Jor-El, on Superman. But yeah, just a great cliffhanger, just an amazing comic. I mean, you get an amazing 15-page main story, and then you get an almost an equally amazing 5-page Tales of Asgard. I'm just really in awe of these comics and can't wait to read the next one. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Star and the Solar Legion. I'm also hard at work on WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic, which recently had a successful Kickstarter campaign. I'll see you next Thursday.